Hey there again, folks. Welcome back to my Let's Play of Never7 The End of Infinity. And I said that kind of fast, didn't I? So last time, Izumi confessed her feelings to Makoto. Then she was saying something about gonna have qualifications to fall in love with him. Sounds like a line from a cheesy romantic comedy or movie, I don't know. But I have faith that this won't be too full of cheese. It hasn't been so far. For being a pretty much more of a romantic-based visual novel, it hadn't been that bad, unless you want to do that drinking game with heart, But yeah. So made me think that stated previously that could have some implications, that they might have previous connections before they met, from her point of view somehow anyway, or maybe his point of view. I don't know. So we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out together within the next 50 episodes probably what all that meant. So once I finish laughing, Kurumi repeats her first question. No, we're not doing anything. We were only thinking about where to start. That sounds bad. We weren't doing anything. Me and your sister weren't doing anything. We were just thinking about where to start. So we got to the table. We decided, we didn't decide exactly where to start. Playing cards. Oh, playing cards. Oh yeah, obviously. Alright, then that makes 3 of us. Well then, what shall we play? Okay. Cool. What? Nope, never heard of it. Is it anything like memory? A staple game? Wait, do you mean... Come again? Can't remember. Kurumi and I exchanged glances. What was the third one? I can't remember what it is. I'm probably bad at it. No, whether we're good or bad at it isn't the problem. Sorry, Izumi-san. Truth is, I've never heard of it either. Nod to the wide-eyed Izumi-san. Izumi-san says this takes the cards and begin shuffling them with skillful handling. Izumi-san then spreads the cards out randomly, like you do when you play concentration. That's okay. That's it. That's concentration. No, it's non-forgetfulness. That's my name for it. That's what I call it. Non-forgetfulness. I do sometimes forget what the name is.
もう
But that game, the game,
誠くんもくるみ
what
も
is that
勝
game?
手な名前
It's
つけないでよ
forgetfulness.
これは間違いなくスーパーメクリンチョなんだから。
なんだおかしいよお姉ちゃん。
おかしいのはくるみの方でしょ。
So, the three of you come into the emergency room today with quite substantial bruising and lacerations. What happened? We got into a fight. They wanted to call the game Concentration, Super Memory, and Mental Guts. And we got into a big disagreement. What would be really funny is if they did that and the doctor's like, I've never heard of any of them. Are you sure it's not memory card flipper? They're like, no, that's not the title. And then they start fighting the doctor. Just random thoughts from a random mind on the YouTubes.
お姉ちゃんの方だってば。
くるみの方です。
お姉ちゃんだって。
くるみの方。
お姉ちゃん。
I was joking, but it looks like this is going to come to blows after all.
くるみ。
お姉ちゃん。
くるみ。
Enough! It's concentration. Why don't we just call it mental consumery?
神経ビロリンチョ。
And so Izumi-san, Kurumi and I begin to play mental consumery.
ほいじゃ行くよ。
I thought they called it in the that whole thing was in Ever 17, pretty close to it. Is that what they come up with? I think it is, though. Isn't it? I think it is. Makoto was the bigger guy. He gave up more syllables than the others, you know. He gave Kurumi mental, and he gave Izumi almost all of memory, and he just kept that one syllable, consumery. Good job, Makoto.
ピロッピロッと。
Kurumi flips over the three of diamonds and the king of spades.
ああ惜しい。
How was that remotely close?
次は私ね。めくりんちょ。めくりんちょ。
With a doubtful voice, she flips over her cards. The ace of hearts and the king of hearts. Oh, looks like I got lucky.
ああやっちゃった。
While giving a sidelong glance at the disappointed Izumi-san, I take the king of hearts and she flipped, as well as the king of spades that Kurumi had flipped. Well then, I reach out for the next card. Flip. This time it's the ace of spades. Got lucky again. I then flip over and take the ace of hearts. Izumi-san had flipped over on her turn. This makes two pairs.
誠くん調子いいわね。
With an embarrassed smile, I reach for the next card. It's 10 of clubs. I don't think anyone flipped over. I don't think anyone flipped another 10 earlier, so.
あ、すっごいお兄ちゃん。
Luckily, the card that I flipped is the 10 of spades. Woohoo! I put my fist. Yeah! I reach for another card. 6 of hearts. 6 of diamonds. I was thinking this was the direction it was going, that he's got some, not luck, but somehow the premonitioning is happening. Whoa! Are you serious? 2 diamonds. 2 hearts. Damn, yet again. 4 clubs. 4 hearts. Ha ha ha. King of diamonds. King of clubs. What? 9 of spades, 9 of hearts. Jack of spades, Jack of diamonds. Makes you feel like Jack of asses. In the silence, the only sound is me flipping the plastic cards. Actually, that joke would have worked earlier. I think he's just getting freaked out, and I think they're probably doing the same thing. Card is a 7 of hearts. Slowly reach for the next card. Before I know it, my fingertips are trembling like crazy. It's the 7 of clubs.
どうして？
No, it's gotta be a coincidence.
偶然
As if trying to prove that, I flipped 2 random cards. 8 of clubs and 8 of diamonds. No way. Shivers run up my spine. Reality before me that I don't want to accept is making me only feel uneasy. This can't be. As I mutter this, I flip more cards. 3 spades and the queen of clubs. 4 of diamonds and the 4 of spades. 5 of diamonds and the 5 of clubs. As if something's driving me onwards, I continuing to flip card after card. It has to be a coincidence. The 3 of us blankly stare at the table. There lie all 52 cards scattered about. It flipped over.
偶然ですって？
そうだよ。このくらいのこと一生に一度や二度は。
ありえないわよ。絶対に偶然じゃありえないのよ。こんなこと。
Actually, it is always possible for that to be a coincidence. However, it is highly unlikely. There's no traces of a smile on Izumi-san's face. A restless atmosphere. The tension is so great right now that it feels like it could crush me.
いい？もしも仮に私とくるみが最初にめくったカード、エースと3とキングが1組ずつなかったとしても、残されたカードは46枚もあるのよ。その46枚の位置に関しては誠くんは絶対に知らないはずでしょ。
Absolutely no way. Those words feel heavy on my
だと
heart.
すると今みたいなことが起こる確率は約 2.327165×10 のマイナス24乗。
Okay, Miss Calculator.
マイナス24乗？
要するにもっと分かりやすく言うと、例えば1億人の人間が1日に1万回同じことをしたとしても、今みたいなことが起こるのは13億7000万年にたった一度だけということ。
Wow, that's a lot of math involved. And Izumi, how are you able to tell me all this math without a calculator? Are you doing a calculator as you're talking that your picture does not show? I wouldn't wait around for very long, is what I would say. Got another 1 billion years before that happens again.
これでも偶然だっていうの？
Well, now that I have all the facts, yeah, I would say maybe it's not a coincidence. I'm unable to give any sort of retort. But I just do now. He's so distracted that he's not realizing the... Did she do all that math right there in her head? What does the reality that appeared before my eyes mean? They don't process this, my brain falls into massive confusion. I'll say that if somebody starts giving me all these numbers, I would fall into massive confusion too.
だけどしょうがないじゃん。そんなに深く考えることないと思うよ、くるみは。だって実際に起こっちゃったものは起こっちゃったんだから。ただそれだけのことだから。
くるみ、私の話聞いて
たよ。ちゃんと聞いてました。
だったら
でもさ、13億7000万年にたった一度だけってお姉ちゃんそう言ったでしょ。ってことはその一度だけっていうのが今だったのかもしれないじゃない。
違うのよ、そういうことじゃないのよ、くるみ。あれはただ 分かりやすく説明しただけなの。さっきも言ったけど、実際の確率はほとんどゼロに近くて。
だけどゼロじゃないんだよね。ほとんどゼロに近くってもゼロではないんでしょ。
それは確かにそうだけど。
だとしたら今みたいなことが起こってもおかしくはないんじゃないの？本当に偶然にたまたまこうなっちゃっただけで。
We were just present for a very historical situation. This only comes around once in every 1,300,000,000 years. Wait, 1,300,000,000 years. I was right, 1 billion, right? Yeah, I think I was right.
あ、その顔まだ納得できてないみたいだね。
Let the logic of Kurumi talk to you. I don't know.
当たり前よ。常識的に考えれば疑って当然だもの。
疑うって何を疑ってるの？
それは。
When she says that, she cuts herself short. Her eyes wander around restlessly.
まあどうでもいいや、そんなこと。とにかくさっきも言ったけど、怒っちゃったものは怒っちゃったんだからしょうがないんだってば。それにお姉ちゃんの言ってる確率ってゲームをやる前の話でしょ。ゲームをやる前に今みたいなことが起こる確率はって聞かれたら、それはもちろん 2.32 なんだっけ
2.327165×10 のマイナス24乗
っていう確率になるのかもしれないけどさ。でも本当はそういうことじゃないじゃん。現実に今みたいなことが起きた確率はってことになると、1回やって1回そうなったんだから、つまり 100% 起きましたっていうのが事実だよね。もうわかんないかな。要するにくるみが言いたいのはシュレディンガーの猫の話と同じことなんだよ。
Okay, these sisters are very smart. Schrodinger's cat. What was that? That was oh, that was something to do with. I know it was mentioned in The Big Bang Theory too. Something about if you put a cat in a box, it is either dead or not dead. It is one of the two or something like that, right? Is that what it is? Something of that nature? We don't know what it is until we look, but it is either dead or it's not dead. It's like two different truths or something like that. Schrodinger's cat?
くるみもあんまり詳しくは知らないんだけど、ほら、簡単アイランドっていう漫画あるじゃない？
Oh, okay. I thought Kurumi was scaring me there, mentioning these really nifty scientific terms.
あれでちょっと読んだだけだから。
Vane Island?
でもお姉ちゃんなら知ってるでしょ？
それはもちろん知ってるけど。
あれって確か箱の中に入ってる猫はその蓋を開けるまで生きてるか死んでるかわからないっていう話だったよね。
I explained it pretty well then.
正確にはちょっと違うけど、まあ簡単に言えばそうなるかしら。
ってことはそうだな。例えば箱の中の毒ガス発生装置の作動する確率が仮に 50% だったとすると、蓋を開けてみる前のニャンコは 50% は死んでるっぽいニャンコで 50% は生きてるっぽいニャンコってことになるじゃない？だけど実際蓋を開けてみたらそこにいるのは確実に 100% 死んでるニャンコか 100% 生きてるにゃんこで、絶対にそのどっちかのにゃんこしかありえないんだよ。言い換えると、蓋を開ける前からそのにゃんこは 100% 生きてたか 0% 生きてたか、必ずそのどっちかになるわけで、じゃあ 50% っていうのは何だったのかっていうと、つまりそれは予測の値だったってことになるよね。だからね、くるみは思うんだけど、予測と現実っていうのは本当は一緒にして考えちゃいけないものなんじゃないのかな。確率って結局は何かが起こる前の話でしょ。起こった後には一つの現実が残るだけでしょ。たとえその確率がどんなにちっちゃくても。
I'm frightened. We are being schooled in scientific logic by Kurumi. I'm in this let's play now. I can't keep playing after Kurumi has done this. I'm just joking. Fascinating though.
蓋を開けたらにゃんこは生きてました。ゲームをやったらお兄ちゃんは全てのカードを当てることができました。それだけが現実でしょ。うまく言えないけど、要するにそういうことなんだけど。
Izumi-san doesn't answer Kurumi's question. And soon if you think about something, I can't even guess what it could be. He's just been sitting there like. I don't know how to continue existing right now. What Kurumi just said, to be honest, I don't really get it. In the first place, just what the hell is Schrodinger's cat? What if he'd had a dog? Here's the real question. Well, would this be relevant if he'd had a dog and didn't have a cat? That's the question. He may not even had a cat. He probably just used a cat in an example when that stuff with, you know, at Schrodinger's cat. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Think about it, does me no good, and so time slowly passes by. Afternoon, Luna Beach suddenly became busy. Customers just keep pouring in and out. Izumi-san returned to work still unsatisfied. Naturally, Kurumi helped out. I was left all alone, so I reluctantly left Luna Beach. Even though I left the shop, I had no clue where to go, so I just staggered alongside the coastline road, and before I knew it, I was here. That's right, I'm at Viewpoint Park. The scenery I see from the end of the cape is colorless. The gray skies make me feel like I'm in an old black and white photo. The air is very damp, but there's no sea breeze. The only sound I hear is that of the waves breaking on the cape. Schrodinger's cats. Huh. I muttered this to myself as I blankly stare at this colorless world. I didn't really understand what Kurumi said back at the shop at all. However, I feel that I somewhat understand what she wanted to say.
怒っちゃったものは怒っちゃったんだから、しょうがないんだってば。
Good job, Kurumi. With the whole spiel and stuff, that's all you understood. The phenomenon from earlier, Kurumi was probably trying to say that what happened with the cards wasn't strange. Is that really true? But when I think about it calmly, there's no way that I can think it wasn't strange, pairing all the cards correctly. There's no way that's possible.
その46枚の位置に関しては、誠くんは絶対に知らないはずでしょ。
Absolutely no way. In other words, that's the way it is. There's no way that that event could have happened unless I'd known all the positions of the cards. A premonition. There's another premonition just like all the others. Haruka falling onto Moon Beach, the fact that there was no rice left at Luna Beach, the earthquake at Tsukiya Hotel's pool, the car battery, what we were just eating for dinner, and those cards. Wait, is that really it? Can I really call the phenomenon Was the cards a premonition? He didn't see it beforehand like he did all the others. So it's a different one. But we already know what's happening, that he's repeating at the same time. So, I mean, that's probably what it is, you know. I mean, he was talking about how none of them were calling each other Yuka-san, Yuka, you know, nothing like that. They're just saying, Yuka, how you doing, you know. Why he would say it like that, I don't know. But, you know, he wasn't adding any suffixes. Is that the word? Suffixes? You know what I mean. For example, if I'd known in advance which card was which, I would have been able to intentionally go for the specific cards that would form pairs, but that's not what happened. No, it couldn't have happened, because I didn't know what any of the cards were until I flipped them. Because I didn't know, I just randomly flipped over cards and happened to get pairs. That is an interesting thing right there. Because here's a question. Here's a question about probability. If, when he kept doing that, what would have happened if he picked this card, the 5 of diamonds, and he went here to this card and he was like, don't want to do this. So he went here. What would that card have been? Would that have been a 5 of clubs, or would it have been some other card? I was actually thinking that. Now that would be crazy if it was a 5 there. Because that would... I mean, is that the point that he had decided at the point before? He's like, okay, this is freaking me out. I don't want to be freaked out, so I'm going to choose the card. Oh crap, it's the same card. I wouldn't even remember doing that before, and he wouldn't have done it then. And what the hell was that phenomenon? If it wasn't simple premonition, then what was it? My mind begins to fall into confusion once again. It's doing a lot of falling into confusion. I can't see anything. I can't hear anything. The only thing that I can feel is an unfamiliar fear wriggling in my heart. Oh, why did this happen? Everything started with that dream. That hopeless dream from the morning of the first. If I had that dream, then none of this would be happening. What is going to happen? Gonna have to tune in for the next one to possibly find out. Like I said before, I don't know how much longer this is gonna go. This might be pretty drawn out, so this is the final route. I don't know. Supposedly there's more endings, so this might not be the final route. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out one day. One day, probably. We're gonna find out. So I do hope you folks enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one. Farewell there, folks.